Hello, friends. Today I wanted to share with you one of my favorite activities. We're not going to talk about ourselves today. We're not going to talk about our feelings. We're going to talk about movies and stories and any other form of story, a story that you've heard of but you don't quite remember, a story you read in a book, some sort of folklore or myth. I just want you to think of a story, any fairy tale, and I want you to draw a scene or a character or a place, whatever really comes to mind when you think of that story. If a few different stories come to mind, try drawing one of each, maybe 3. Pause the video and come back when you feel like you've drawn what it is that you want to draw. Okay? If you're still here, then I'm hoping that you had some drawings. I'm going to show you some of mine, just an example, if you still aren't quite sure what you want to do. This one's very simple. I drew Rapunzel in her tower. The focus is not so much on Rapunzel herself, but on all this space, this open space, this sort of like isolated feeling. And over here, one of my favorite Greek myths is Pandora's box. A lot to talk about there. Interesting, even though I already drew Rapunzel, I did draw a scene from Tangled, which is slightly different. It was something else that I wanted to convey, all these lanterns floating away. And I did also another myth of Medusa, when I was thinking about how I feel a bit during COVID and the pandemic and how socializing, because whenever she sees someone, these snakes turn them to stone. And so it can be another very isolating feeling in this time that we have. Some other examples aren't mine. I have them from a deck of cards I really like. This is Vanir. This is from a Norse myth. Vanir is said to, he was foretold that he would destroy Asgard one day. But this picture shows that even though he's coming one day and it's inevitable, he's tied up right now. It's not happening right now. We can have a break now, even though the future will come eventually. Interesting story. We have the Little Mermaid, and you can see her on her rock, longing for things and wanting things. Here we have a lot of people's story they remember their childhood. This is the little Matchbox Girl. A lot of feelings in there. These are myths around the world. So this is La Llorona from Mexico. If you're familiar with the story, you can see it here as well. We have an also familiar Aladdin with all these different lamps. There's a lot of things they want. They have a lot of good things to choose from. That can be how you're feeling. And one of my favorite, this is from the Snow Queen. These two children were best friends and they saw the good in everything. But once the Snow Queen had a mirror to see the bad things, the glass shattered and got in everyone's eyes. And while everything used to seem nice and wonderful, and they saw the best in things, now they could only, her friend Kai could only see the worsting things. And he wanted to run away, and he suddenly was moody when he wasn't ever like that before. But his good friend here, she wanted to go after him and to help him see the good in life again and all their friendship. So that's a great story. Once you draw some of these stories, if you want to talk about their feelings, you may find that the feelings of the character you drew might not be so different from how you're feeling. I read another art therapist take. She did this with a mother and daughter, adopted daughter. And when the mother thought of a story, she thought of a very simple Cinderella, very classic. And she drew the fairy godmother because she has this new daughter in her life and she wanted to make her life magical. She wanted to help her. She wanted to help her thrive and grow. And what the daughter drew was a very simple classic, the Three Bears one. She kind of felt like she was the intruder when everyone had their house set up all nicely, she came in and was unwanted. Obviously it's not what the mother was feeling, but this was a way that they could draw. They can't say, this is how I'm feeling, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but by drawing out an element of a story that came to mind, you can open up this conversation of how that character is feeling and how you might be feeling. So, this is a really fun one. Think of all the most amazing, wonderful stories you can think of. You can do Marvel if you want, or DC if you're a DC fan. Disney movies, there's a lot of great fairy tales in Disney movies. Elsa, I know a lot of people think of Elsa. That's another rendition of Snow Queen. Obviously a very different version of the Snow Queen. The one that I grew up with, she was cursing glass and making people mad. And in the Frozen one, just misunderstood and a little afraid mostly of herself. So, any story, they may seem simple or universal, but the way you draw them, which version you do, it can say a lot. And it's very interesting to talk about. All right, happy drawing, friends.